There is one thing that gets me so excited. Do you know what that is? More than anything else in the world, I am Rich Trippin.
And I'm Tiffany.
And we love exploring the UK. We have been exploring Scotland. Unfortunately, this is our last Scottish video, but it is something that is so exciting that I feel like most people completely overlook, or they just running through, getting all them shots, getting all those 5 things that you need to know before you visit Scotland, and they get their picture next to the Scots monument like this right here, and they just don't.
Which we did, but.
I mean, we did. But they don't pay attention to what's going on around them. They don't really know why they're there. And I feel like when you walk into a museum, especially a museum like the National Scottish Museum, you start understanding why you're there. And when you start learning about why you're there, you start learning about why you're here. Because you guys know I get really super hyped on a museum. I love Scottish history. I don't understand Scottish history, but I love Scottish history. Here is our Patreons and members who help us go to museums like this so we can learn stuff about people like you. I know what you're saying. What do you mean by you people? But I'm super psyched out about this video because everything came full circle. Because if you watch one of our older videos, we missed out on something. We didn't get it. Now I'm sad. But on this video, we got to see something even cooler. We'll get to that. Okay, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the hype button. Hit the hype button, and let's get into the video. So I don't know how well, or if they're gonna let us film inside here or not, but we are going into the Scottish Museum. I know it's no British Museum, but, oh, well, British Museum is for the entire,
World.
This is the Scottish Museum, so I'm not sure how it'll do. So we'll see. But I'm excited to check it out anyway, because I like museums. Let's go. So the photography is encouraged, so I think we're good to go. So this is really cool. This is it's an oak panel from the 1600s, and I don't know nothing about it, but I know it's from the 1600s, and I was reading the description, and what I thought was cool about the descriptions, it said that this was made by somebody local. So it, like the design and stuff like that, was a local person, that it did not match the influence of the time. So what you're looking at would be a true, uninfluenced Scottish style. So when you look at this, you can actually say this is 100%. Like looking at the weaving the different designs, that Celtic look. Very interesting. This is something that I find really interesting. This is the first time, because when you go through like Scotland or you go through England, the one thing that you find out is like most stuff has been influenced by something else. So when you're looking at this and you're like, okay, this is completely influenced solely by a Scottish person's brain, and this is what you're looking at is pure Scottish. I just thought that was really cool. Like that's really neat to know. Like this is just pure Scotland. And I just thought that was cool. All right, go on. What is it?
This stuff's really cool.
What?
Because this is all Mary, Queen of Scots stuff, and I find this very interesting. This is her jewelry or relics of it over here.
Mm-hmm.
And look at that like clear one. How pretty that is. Richard.
What?
That's her necklace that was given to her by her mother.
Given to her by who?
Her mother.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And over here, did you see this?
No.
This is cool. Well, kind of not, but. This is a copy of Mary, Queen of Scots casket. So what they were saying in there was that it would have had letters. Where was it? Letters in a silver casket similar to this were presented as evidence at a hearing against Mary at Westminster in 1568. Subsequently, Mary remained a prisoner in England for the next 19 years until her execution in 1587. So something like that had the letters in there that they were using against her to say that she killed her husband, Lord Darnley.
Really?
Mm.
And that's what they used as evidence to
have her beheaded.
So that's really interesting that where Mary, Queen of Scots was laid to rest in England. Her body was not allowed to be moved. It was placed at Westminster. Her son, James, had this actually constructed so that she could have a resting place here in Scotland. So this was actually put in Scotland. So she has two tombs, one where her body's held in Westminster in London, and one here in Scotland.
Okay, this was one of the things that was like, this kind of blows your mind, this whole setup together. And it just looks like something simple in a room, besides the sarcophagus, which is very elegant and sitting in the middle of a room. That was really cool. But the casket thing was really cool to be able to.
Yeah, I had no idea that was even going to be there. And then learning about the history of it was like amazing, because her son put it there for her because he wanted like something of her to be in Scotland where she belongs, because she's buried in, I think, Westminster Abbey in London.
So there's this idea, and this is what I love about Scotland. This is what I said in the beginning of it. It says where you come from. Every Sunday, and even if you, let's say you're not even religious, you still, majority of Americans come from this Christian background, right? And you can pretty much guarantee, unless you're part of a different denomination, one of them, you know what I mean. You read from the King James Bible, and for the most part, we just looked at it and said, King James Bible. We never put thought into this.
No.
But now on this, you're walking through and you're seeing a personal side of King James. Because I think what we read about it was he didn't want, even though Mary Queen of Scots is buried in Westminster Abbey, he wanted his mother to have some place in Scotland.
Yeah.
And what you're seeing is from somebody that not only we read the Bible, almost like remorse, because he was raised under Elizabeth. And we did this whole thing. We did this video on Mary Queen of Scots, and I'll put it up here so you guys can see it. But to be able to see that,
yeah,
and you're kind of seeing this other side of him, it created so much, because now at Edinburgh Castle, we see where he was born. And we're learning more and more about this person. And this person, did you know the King James Bible was one of the first things written in modern English?
Yeah.
So there's a million things, I say a million, there's tons of things that just surround this area to say like, okay, yeah, this is this, but it's also, this is what makes you tick.
Yeah.
So when you're learning about this and you're learning about Scotland, you're finding out who you are and why you are, because these people's decisions so far way back affected your life. And now you're seeing these emotional sides of them. You're making these connections, but it's just one of those things you have to take a minute and really look at the idea of what's happening, connect the dots. And that's what I love about a UK museum, is you can connect the dots. And there's even more than this.
So even if Nessie is not here now.
Itchysaurus?
What?
It says Itchysaurus.
Itchysaurus. Itchysaurus. So there was actually a Loch Ness monster here at some point. It's just as it's still here. I feel like an idiot in here. I feel like a 5-year-old because like I talked to the person here. And I'm like, yeah, I'm reading a book on this. And I totally felt like a 5-year-old going, yeah, I'm learning this in school about how Scotland and the UK was formed. I'm learning this in school. So these stones, it's from 7,000 years ago, right? There was something called a simple hand axe, right? And for the longest, like, they found stones all over, and like usually when they found a hand axe, it was usually made from the stone in that area. But there was a certain point that they started finding these stones from a certain area in Scotland. It was just like a rare rock, but they would go all over and they would manage to find that stone. And they started figuring out that this was an early form of jewelry. That people would actually make their way up and grab this particular rock to form, because it was only available in one place in Scotland. But they was finding it in Lower England during, BC. So this was probably one of the first recorded in BC of somebody having something of either fashion or religious symbol. It was an early idea of
Early trend.
it was one of the early trends that people would have those stones, which is really cool.
Okay, so we started getting to this Bronze Age area, and I want to pull this. If you guys have not read this book by Neil Oliver, I know people got opinions about Neil Oliver. As a historian, I deeply, deeply appreciate Neil Oliver. I love his books. I love the way he explains stuff. I love how passionate he is about it. And because I read this book, when I started walking into the Bronze Age stuff, the Neolithical stuff, I just really got excited.
Yeah.
I thought it was so cool because I'm like, that's what Neil was talking about. These are the things that Neil was talking about in this book. If you guys don't have this book, it's a history of ancient Britain, and it's a good read. It covers the Cheddarmen. It covers all the way from the Ice Age Bridge all the way up to the Romans. And it's a really good read if you guys want to check it out. Actually, I think somebody suggested this to me. It might have been Mank. But somebody suggested this to me, and whoever you are, I can't remember. It's been so long ago. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. This next part, though, I want to tell you a little story. I want to tell you a story about a little boy. The innocent, one of the most handsome little boys you ever seen. And this little boy went to York, right?
Right.
And when he went to England, all he wanted was to see a Viking.
Yeah.
He just wanted to see a Viking. And when he was planning this trip, he was so sad because there were so many Viking things, and he finally did it. He said, I want to go to the Jorvik Viking Museum. And he went there and he bought his ticket, and he said, I'm going to be back at 3:00. Right?
Right.
So we tried to get into the Jorvik Viking Center, but we had to buy tickets for later on today.
And there's a Viking ride and Viking things and Viking, just amazing Viking things. But this little boy got back to that Viking museum just a few minutes late, and they refused him entry.
We didn't get in. Now I'm sad.
Yeah.
And sadness makes my eyes rain. I don't know what to do now.
It could have been the color of his skin. It could have been they just didn't like his face. They probably thought he was too beautiful and was going to steal all the shine. Or it could have been that he was over 3:00 and that was the last showing. Any of those could have been the answer. Any of those. But that little boy went to Scotland. And he went into the Scottish National Museum. And what he seen there, his imagination, his thoughts could not comprehend.
The rim mount from his drinking horns, right there, number 2, it's almost faded into the rock. Then you got his games, which was those balls, and even had a hair comb. That's a Viking hair comb right there. Tell me how cool is that? That is a Viking hair comb. Wow. A real life Viking. Okay, so this is really cool. This is early carvings from the Peck people, or Pick people. I keep saying Peck, it's Pick. These are early carvings from the Pick people. When they first started converting to Christianity, and you can actually see the mixture of the old religion and the old style, that pagan worship mixed with these. This is the story of Christ. Up here you have Daniel in the lion's den. Wow. This is the fraction of the crucifixion. So this is like a mixture, really, you look at this, a mixture of the old religion and the new. And that's really cool.
That was a real freaking Viking right there. Did you see that? Did you see that? That's a real freaking Viking. That's a real Viking. That was a real Viking. And not only was it a real Viking, but there was tons of Viking tablets, and that whole section right there, it showed like old Norse ideology and stuff like that, and it started fading into the Christianity, and you started seeing like this stuff just so slowly, because you can watch movies and stuff like that, and that's real big on these Vikings coming in and just going into these churches and these cathedrals and these minsters, and they just ripping all the gold and stuff out of the floors, robbing every bit of it. And now I'm sitting here in front of a real Viking who was probably doing that, or he might not have. I didn't really check the dates. I don't know the dates that good. In a real freaking Viking? We don't get that in America. No. We don't get that type of history in America. You Scots are insane with your stuff and your things. I wish I could make two of you. Oh, speaking of that.
Now we walked into like the main part of the museum, and there's a bunch of kids out here playing. Now we feel guilty because Richard and Remy would be going crazy in here.
Yeah, they would love this. Now I just feel bad.
Spinning sheep. We'd have to put that in Remy's bedroom.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Dolly the clone sheep. It's the first cloned sheep. The UK actually was the first people, they invented cloning. And they proved it by cloning a sheep.
That's a little weird.
That's very weird, very sci-fi. Sci-fi like that. Never mind. This is the room that they would freak out over. Wow.
So here's my thing. I tell Richard, like, we have this little unspoken rule, kind of. And what it is when we are not with our children, which is super rare, that when we're not with them, we don't do things the kids would enjoy or super kid-friendly activities.
We mainly just do like craft and stuff when the kids ain't with us.
No, we mainly just eat in restaurants. Like, we don't go to Universal or Disney without the kids. We don't do kid activities. We don't really do much activities without them. So like, now that we're here in this museum, there's all this animal stuff. And I'm kind of mad they want to leave, because they would be freaking out if they were here with us. We wouldn't be able to leave this animal room.
Yeah, this is like overdone too. It's not just like kind of sort of.
No,
There's like all the things kids enjoy. There's whales and dinosaurs and like whoever made this room made it with like a 5-year-old in mind.
Yeah, this is like the perfect kid room.
Yeah, it really is.
Oh, we got to the part where we saw the animals and started thinking about our kids and got sad and left.
Yeah, that was.
That's how the Scottish Museum.
That's how that ended.
That's how it ended. But the idea, like, I just love that progression of we've seen how. I mean, this whole idea, and I don't know if this whole thing has just been something on our own minds or what it's been, but when I first went to Scotland, I wanted to see kilts. I wanted to see a man throw a log somewhere, Highland festivals, and stuff like that.
And a stag.
Yeah, I did want to see a stag. I did see a stag on the way back from our Highland video. If you ain't seen that, check it out. But I didn't expect that there was such a theme of not drunken fighting people. There was such a theme of progression and such a theme of like, you just watched this little country go from this Neolithic period, Vikings, Romans, Picts, Romans, and then you see them just start developing and making a name for themselves in this world. So you start at that Bronze Age and you work, or Neolithical age, and you work your way all the way up to these people are cloning sheep. To this day, that small country is just made a statement to the world, and to be able to go and just explore that and to see that. Every bit of this, to see these rugged mountains and this land that looks so unforgiving, and see these people of sure will and determination, to learn about William Wallace, to learn about these people, these freedom fighters, these open thinkers, these new ideas, these new minds, all the way from a place that looked like a cesspool to the leaders of science and the leaders of, is just amazing. And Scotland produced all that.
Yeah.
It got me so excited just to see all that.
Scotland truly is a magical, amazing place. Like, it's some of the most exciting things we've like ever done.
It was adventure. It was imagination. You could walk into the mountains and you could just think of the fairies and think of the, you know, the rituals and the old gods and all that. But then you walk into the church and you see where your God stands in its history throughout man. You don't have to be Scottish to see how your life changed. I mean, everybody goes to these things, and I'm not saying they're bad. Listen, we do a lot of things. We go to Borough Market. We do all these things that are trendy and hip. But I think the biggest problem with society, the biggest problem with these YouTube channels today, is they want to show you a trend that's going to be over in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Dubai chocolate's not going to be here in 20 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The 5 best places to visit in Scotland, provided by a person who's been there for a total of 2 hours. These things, people need to be reminded of why we travel and why we do things. And if you cannot figure that out, go to Scotland. Scotland will open up your eyes to why you do it. And that's what Scotland did for us. I'm Rich Trippin.
And I'm Tiffany.
And that was the Scottish National Scottish. It doesn't matter. Go see it.